So most of you know this already. Why aren't more people buying EVs? Because they're more expensive when they're new at least. Used may be a different story. Pure EVs have a limited range. People worry about public charging infrastructure. Some of us think they worry about that more than they should. There's a limited variety of EVs available, and there's a real lack of public awareness still. You know, I'm preaching to the converted here. I'm sure you already all know this. So, of these things, who's best to address these? Lots of these things are actually best addressed by industry, the people who are out there dealing with the consumers, selling the vehicles right there on the front line, and it's great that so many of you from industry are here to think about these issues some more. But as Matt's explained, the government does care about emissions reductions, so it makes sense for the government to have a role here too. What have we got in place now? EVs are exempt from road user charges. That exemption is for light vehicles scheduled to run to the end of 2021 in its current form. We'll see where we get to. That's 7.2 cents per kilometre. The Minister said some things about that before, which are most of the things that I would have said, so I won't say those things again, but we can talk about that more if you want. We've also got the Low Emissions Vehicles Contestable Fund in place. That's a $7 million fund per year. That's been running for 2-ish years now, something like that. Is that about right, Liz? 3. Excellent. Lots of really, really good projects funded by that. Some charging infrastructure, lots of innovation in heavy vehicle space and public transport. Lots and lots of really good catalyst activities going on there. But it's not enough, right? We haven't got across the line yet. We've got a long way to go. These are some of the key problems that we have. We've got the second highest rate of vehicle ownership in the OECD. Lots of people buy cars because cars are cheap and they last a long time here. 2018 top sellers, only 2 passenger cars in that. 5 diesel utes, 3 SUVs make up the rest. We've got high levels of emissions from those vehicles coming into the fleet. It makes a bit of sense when you see the bullet point above. 180 grams of carbon per kilometre. That's really high by international standards. And those emissions are being baked in, right? The average vehicle exits the New Zealand fleet at 19 years of age. We don't see that changing anytime soon. In fact, it might even stretch out a bit further as vehicles get better quality and last longer. So those high emitting vehicles that we're buying now, we're stuck with them for a long time. The Minister talked briefly about this stuff. These are my points. We can dive into it a bit more in some detail later on if you like. So the Clean Car package has got 2 separate elements to it. There's the Clean Car Standard. Vehicle suppliers need to meet 105 gram emissions target on average across the vehicles that they sell. There's some variation in that by weight. 105 might be seen as not very ambitious, but it's a long way down from 180, which is where we are now. It's all to do with your starting point, I guess. So we've got a lot of ground to make up. And vehicle suppliers will pay some penalties, some penalty charges to the extent that they are over that threshold. There's some mechanisms in there about banking, borrowing, grouping to enable suppliers to get together with other suppliers and do some things to come to some good arrangements, as we've seen in other countries, to get to those standards. But that should help. That applies across both new vehicles and used imports entering the fleet. Clean car discount, so the fee-bait scheme. So the Minister talked a little bit about this too. This is the not complex slide. We've got much more complex tables than this. So rebates are paid to buyers who buy a vehicle which is below the benchmark, and fees are charged above it. The further away that you are in either direction, the more you get or the more you pay. It's a reasonably simple concept. It goes up in steps, is the other thing to think about it, and the benchmark moves downwards over time. So those are the key concepts you want to capture there. The amounts at stake are reasonably large, certainly on the rebate side. Up to $8,000 for a new vehicle, as the Minister said, that would be a pure EV. New vehicle, I think, extends out to used imports up to about 3 years of age. Is that right, Freddie? That's the proposal. Yep, we'll talk about that. And for vehicles over that age, so used imports coming over that age, 2,600. The fee, up to $3,000 on new, up to $1,500 on used. And that, the benchmark there, as I said, there's a bit of a proposed escalator. So what's an escalator that goes down anyway? That. An escalator going down, yeah, that'll do. 150 grams in 2021 and 120 and 105 in 2025. Well, I want to make a really important point here. These schemes are proposed, and the political environment is difficult at the moment. So these things coming into force and coming into effect in this form or any other is not a certainty. They're still out for discussion. If you think that this kind of stuff is useful, if you think it might help, then I would encourage you to go online, either of those websites, the accurate one, which if you can write really fast you'll get, or just go to transport.gov.nz, it's on the front page. Make a submission and say what you think about this. And just a little bit of balance too, if I can make this suggestion. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. There are lots of ways of which these schemes could be improved. You could make the numbers much bigger. There are political barriers to fight there. It's interesting to hear. It'd be interesting for us to hear those comments. But if you're supportive of this kind of stuff, do get online. Do let your customers, other people, your contacts know about this stuff as well. We'd be really interested to hear what you think. Submissions close on the 20th of August, and final decisions are expected later this year. Oh, that's the complex slides, which we'll skip through. You don't want, unless people want to look at them later. That's it for me.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Liz.